hi kids, children, adults, grandparents, people of all ages. Might be a cat, might be a dog, or anything in between, or an inanimate object. Today I am going to talk to you about a router that I have purchased. I've owned it for nearly a month now. I purchased this router because my Linksys EA3500 that I had previously bit the dust. We had a power outage, and after the power outage, it would no longer boot. It would just get a blinking power light, and that was it. Nothing else. And I'm pretty sure the flash ROM on it got corrupted. And I tried and tried to save its life, and I could not get the thing to cooperate. So, anyhow, today I am going to give you my review of the Linksys N750 or EA3500. It comes with a disc, and it comes, of course, with your necessary Ethernet cable and your power cord, blah, 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 and, of course, the router. I'm going to start you off with the pros of the router, and I'm going to go off about the cons. We'll start with the pros, so here we go. It has gigabit Ethernet. I've tested that, and that does seem to work 100%. And when I do a direct network transfer, I get pretty much a full gigabit, so that works fine. It has a built-in USB port for like plugging in an external hard drive or plugging in a printer. If I'm not mistaken, however, for the hard drive, I believe a 2 terabyte hard drive is the largest you can connect to it. I have not tried the USB port feature yet, so mind you that I can't tell you how well it works or how poorly it works. Just, I know that it has that, and I would like to use that feature at some point, although I will explain more stuff later. It has, since I have a more recent one, it does come with the cloud-based GUI application, hard software, whatever, built into it. There is the option to, quote-unquote, downgrade it to the classic Linksys firmware. The cloud thing, it depends on your take on it. It could be good, it could be bad. I think it's good in the aspect that, you know, you can access it remotely, you know, from anywhere and change the settings or adjust things on the fly. But bad is because it's on the cloud, it's out on the internet, it could be a security concern, definitely. I definitely see people's complaints there on that. I like having the cloud-based version, which is what I'm running. I like that it has apps for iOS and Android. So on my iPad I have the Linksys Cisco whatever app on here, and then I have it on my Android phone. I like the way I just personal preference, just the looks of it, appearance of it. I like the web-based GUI of the cloud-based web-based GUI. It seems to be simple, clean of a design. It doesn't have too many features. It doesn't have a shortage of features, depending on what you want. I will tell you, in comparison to a router running DDWRT, there's like nothing there, if you compare it to that. But that's a different story. We'll get to that in a little bit. Another minor thing, and it depends on what you want, you can shut the LEDs off on the router. So if you don't like having those blinking lights at night, say it's in the bedroom or something and that drives you nuts, you can shut the LEDs off. I prefer to have them on so you know what it's doing. But that's just my preference. And then another thing is I have not had any issues with the Wi-Fi dropping out yet. I've had it for a month and the Wi-Fi has not dropped yet. I have had multiple routers in the past where I have had problems with the Wi-Fi dropping frequently and I have to reset the router, which is extremely annoying and discouraging. But I have not had that specific problem with this router yet. However, now it's time to get to the cons, and unfortunately I do have several big cons on this router. First of all, and this one is your preference, this was not a showstopper depending on who you are, and frankly I knew this going into it, that this was going to lack DDWRT. This router does not support it. The hardware in it does not support DDWRT and likely never will, or actually it might be the vice versa way that DDWRT will never support it, but nonetheless, don't expect to see DDWRT on this router ever. And you know, while I kind of knew it going in, I'm kind of wishing now I would have had a router that would support DDWRT. Because I'll explain that later. Wi-Fi out of the box on this router was horribly, horribly slow. I mean horribly slow to the point that it was basically unusable on this MacBook that I'm recording this video with right now. On my iPad, doing a speed test, I was getting like 1 MIP down. 1 MIP. And we have 15 MIP service, so we shouldn't be getting just 1. And it was lucky if it was hitting 1, if I recall right. It was horrible. It was almost unusable. It was so slow. I was able to remedy that situation. Unfortunately, I had to disable the 2.4 gigahertz mixed mode and change it to wireless B and wireless G only, disabling wireless N. I do have a few devices here that would support wireless N, however, for whatever reason, having that on mixed mode made the whole thing run like garbage. It shouldn't do that in my opinion, and perhaps there's something wrong with this router, but I don't feel it should do that. It should work just fine out of the box. But let's just face it, it did not. It was horrible and almost unusable when it was on mixed mode. I had to change it to B and G only. And it was all Wi-Fi devices, so no, it wasn't a conflict with one device. Everything that was on Wi-Fi was running horrible. That said, even with that fixed, I'm still having problems on the internet side with this router, and I don't think it's an ISP cable modem issue. I think it is an issue with this router. During downloads, especially larger downloads, the internet on all devices slows to a crawl to the point where it almost doesn't work at all, and in fact sometimes it won't even load a web page. It'll just come and say web page unavailable or something when I'm doing a large download. Now the reason why I'm almost certain that it's related to this router is because this issue did not happen until I got this router. I never had this kind of a problem before. When I would have a large download before, everybody else's stuff would just work, would work just fine. With 15 MIP service, it better at least work okay. Granted, it won't be super duper fast, but it should still work. But I mean, it's unusable. Google Chrome will just sit there with a spinning circle saying resolving host, and then eventually it might load, or it might come up and say it can't load the page. That's terrible. That problem I'm still experiencing with this router, and I've done some tweaking with settings, and I haven't figured out a way of getting that to cooperate yet. And if I can't, I'll get into that in a minute, but if I can't figure out how to get this router to work the way I want it to, I'm going to be looking at a different router because it's not fulfilling what I want. That said, next thing related to Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi range is underwhelming, to say the least, on this router. You can get maybe, at least with this, from my experience with this router, I'm getting maybe out 20 to 30 feet before you have no signal at all. None. Zero. My previous router, I could get all the way to the end of the backyard and still have signal. This router, I can barely get into the backyard at all. I mean, it's like I doubled the difference. Sorry, my computer went to screensaver. It like the old router is like double the range of this one. I kid you not. It's very disappointing. And then lastly, for my cons, and this is a minor one, this is just my preference, the LEDs on the back of the unit. The lights for the activity of this router are on the back of the unit, not the front or the top of it, where they typically are on the majority of routers I've seen. So if you want to see a status of a link light or something, you have to look at the back of the router. So it means you have to pull the router out to even look at the lights. I like to see the activity lights on the front so I know if everything's working as it should. So, okay, that all said, overall on the router, in my opinion, and maybe I just got a dud, but I have a feeling I didn't by seeing some other reviews, I'm unimpressed with the performance of this router, especially on the internet side of things. As far as doing direct transfers over the network, it's fine, but when you start doing things on the internet side, the traffic routing just seems to be horrible and slow. And I will reiterate, so that you are aware of this, I do not have the prioritization feature on. That is off. So it won't be setting it when like my computer here has all the priorities and everything else doesn't. It's not like that. It should be just evenly distributing the traffic, but it is not at all. It's just, and even on the same computer you're doing the download on, that computer itself goes down to a crawl too while the download's occurring. Like I downloaded OS X Mavericks on my MacBook the other day. I have not installed it yet, by the way. But I downloaded it, and during that download, the internet was unusable for everybody else, including myself. It just was unusable. The download was going just fine, but everything else was just unusable. Period. I've never had that problem until I've had this router. And likewise, if I can't even get my Wi-Fi in the backyard, where I want it sometimes, it's not going to reach out far enough. Me personally, the next router I get, I will ensure has DDWRT support. Whether it comes with it pre-installed or not, I do not care, as long as it will run DDWRT. So in case the firmware that it includes has issues, I can put DDWRT on it and hopefully my problems go away, because so far every router I've used that I've put DDWRT on made the router work significantly better than it came. So it's just how it's going to be. So anyway, I don't foresee this router being my router that I'm going to keep. Unfortunately, the return policy from the place I bought it from is horrible, to say the least, so I cannot return this device. They only allow you to trade it in for the same item once you've opened the box. You cannot get a refund on it, which was going to defeat the purpose, because I don't want this router now. I want a different one. So anyway, my suggestion on this router is I'd caution you on it. Perhaps I had just a bad experience and others will not. Maybe if your usages and needs are differently, perhaps this router will be better for you. And the app-enabled side of this, yeah, it's app-enabled, but you look at the apps that are available for it, they're like pointless, and there aren't very many. So it's not like anything that I'd write home about. I haven't tried downgrading this router to classic firmware. Maybe that would make it run better. I don't know. Maybe I should try that as a desperation attempt, especially if I can't take this router back now anyway. But all in all, long story short, well, it's already been a long story, but long story short, I caution you on this router. I'm not going to purchase it again. Maybe it'll work better for you. This is Nerdngong, and I approve this message. Say bye-bye.